Have you ever wondered why some women, even when rent is late, credit card debt suffocates their chest, and groceries cost more than their entire paycheck, still walk into a room with a presence that bends the air itself? Tonight, I tell you it is not accident, nor chance that you are hearing these words. A simple coin in your pocket, a folded dollar bill in your hand, even a cup of water beside your bed. These are not small objects. They are keys, ritual doors, codes that speak to the unseen. Debt feels like iron pressed against the ribs. Bills arrive like storms that never rest. The fridge hums with silence because it is almost empty. You know the panic of watching the meter run while the utility bill climbs beyond what you can pay. That is the weight of visible chains. But behind those visible chains, there is another law, an invisible law, that only awakens when the soul remembers what it carries. Listen to this testimony. A woman from New Jersey, drowning in overdue rent and 3 maxed-out credit cards, took a single dollar bill, placed it under a glass of clear water, and whispered every morning, "Wealth flows. Dollars come. Abundance is mine." On the 3rd day, an unexpected refund appeared in her bank account. Small, yes, but it paid the overdue light bill. The chain cracked, and when the chain cracks, the door opens. Florence Scovel Shinn once said, "Your word is your wand." Neville Goddard declared that imagination creates reality. When you combine a word with an object, dollar, coin, water, you engrave a spiritual code that reality cannot ignore. You do not have to invent prosperity. You are prosperity disguised. The ritual does not add something to you. It reveals what was buried under fear, doubt, and survival. Take this practical step with me now. Hold a coin or dollar bill in your hand. Breathe slowly, 3 times. Inhale debt, exhale freedom. Inhale fear, exhale trust. Inhale chains, exhale keys. Then speak with authority, not as request, but as decree. Wealth flows. Dollars come. Abundance is mine. Place the coin under a glass of water by your bed tonight. When you wake, drink that water as if drinking liquid light. Remember, spiritual time is never early, never late, always exact. What you decree tonight may echo tomorrow, or in 48 hours, but it will arrive with a precision that logic cannot explain. This is the first invisible mark, the aura that calms chaos, even when chaos screams louder than dollars in debt. Stay with me, because we are not finished yet. Comment 3 words below, "I carry it," to seal this first mark into your own life, and let us walk together into the next revelation. Imagine holding a cup of black coffee early in the morning, steam rising like prayers that no one else can hear. The taste is bitter, but behind its bitterness is energy, focus, and hidden fire. In the same way, financial struggle tastes bitter. Overdue rent notices slipped under the door, the choking weight of credit card minimums, the cruel arithmetic of medical bills that demand what your body cannot give. Yet some women, while carrying these same invisible weights, release a sweetness into the air that changes everyone around them. It is the second invisible mark, the voice that inspires courage even in despair. Debt is like standing in water up to your neck, each wave threatening to cover your mouth. Groceries feel heavier not because of their weight, but because of the receipt in your hand. Gasoline prices rise, and you wonder if you should drive to work or save the car for emergencies. These are the visible numbers that scream lack. But when the invisible mark awakens, the voice shifts the room. It does not beg. It declares. Testimony. A single mother in Texas, crushed under student loans and facing eviction, sat one night with nothing but a cup of coffee in front of her. She whispered into the rising steam, I am not lack. I am abundance. She repeated until her voice grew stronger, until her children, hearing her, stopped crying and started laughing. The next morning, her employer called. An unexpected bonus was deposited, enough to cover rent for that month. Words became bread. Florence Scovel Shinn warned us, fear attracts the thing feared. Neville taught, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The ritual of the voice transforms bitterness into declaration. Your words are not sound, they are codes. When you release them into coffee steam, into morning air, into the silence of your room, they do not vanish. They inscribe, they echo, they command unseen currents to rearrange. Here is the ritual. Tomorrow morning, before checking your phone, pour a cup of coffee, or if you have none, even hot water will serve. Hold it close. Whisper 3 times. Wealth flows. Dollars come. Abundance is mine. Then drink slowly, as though swallowing the very breath of courage. Do not rush. Let the voice settle into your chest like a hidden drum. And when resistance comes, and it will, when the mind says, this is foolish, this is nothing, answer softly. Then explain the chains I already broke. Every whisper is a hammer against debt, every sip a torch in the dark. This is the second invisible mark, the voice that inspires courage where despair tried to live. And once courage speaks, money listens. We are not finished yet. Hold your cup tomorrow and comment below, I declare it, so your voice becomes part of this chorus. Stay close, for the third invisible mark waits in the silence ahead. Take a handful of salt and let it fall slowly through your fingers. Each grain is almost invisible, yet together they flavor everything. Debt, too, falls grain by grain. A late fee here, an overdraft there, groceries placed on credit, gas prices climbing like silent thieves. And suddenly, the mountain of scarcity towers before you. But some women walk through that same mountain with a serenity that cannot be explained. It is the third invisible mark, the silence that shifts heavy energy. Silence is not absence. Silence is presence without noise. Think of the night when the power is cut because the light bill was left unpaid. The refrigerator stops humming. The darkness feels heavy. Yet in that silence, one can choose despair, or one can choose alignment. For those who carry this invisible mark, silence is not emptiness. It is command. It is the pause before the new current begins to flow. Testimony. A woman in Florida, exhausted after working 2 jobs, came home to a dark apartment. The power cut again. Instead of crying, she lit a single candle. She placed a pinch of salt into a cup of water, sat in silence, and whispered nothing at all. She only breathed. 15 minutes later, her phone buzzed. A friend she had not spoken to in years sent an unexpected transfer of money. Just a feeling, they said, enough to restore power and cover the late fees. Silence spoke louder than begging ever could. Florence Scovel Shinn said, be still, and new ideas will flow to you. Neville reminded, an assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. The ritual of silence with salt is a declaration without words. Salt absorbs. It cleanses. It anchors energy in the physical. Silence does not mean inaction. It means alignment with the invisible code already written. Here is your practice. Tonight, place a pinch of salt in a glass of water. Set it near your bed or on a small table. Do not speak. Do not explain. Only breathe deeply 3 times and let silence carry your need into the unseen. In the morning, throw that salted water away and replace it with fresh water for the next day. Each night, a cycle. Each silence, a seed. The resistance will come. How can salt change overdue rent? You will ask. And the answer is, salt does not pay bills, your silence does. For silence cuts the noise of panic, and when panic is gone, openings appear. Remember, the invisible is not logical, it is lawful. This is the third invisible mark, the silence that shifts heavy energy, a silence that bends despair into opportunity, that breaks chains without shouting. Stay with me. Comment 3 words below, I hold silence, to seal this mark. For the fourth invisible mark is waiting, not in noise, but in the gaze that carries answers. Stand before a mirror and place a single dollar bill against the glass. Look closely not only at your reflection, but at the overlap of paper and face. You will see 2 images, the woman who worries about overdue rent, mounting credit card bills, and groceries that swallow her paycheck, and the woman whose very gaze carries answers that no bank can calculate. Between those 2 images lies the fourth invisible mark, the gaze that carries answers. Think about your eyes when you open the mailbox and find a red notice of eviction. Your chest tightens, your breath shortens. Or the eyes that stare at the pharmacy counter, calculating which prescription you can afford and which you must leave behind. Or the eyes of a woman working her 3rd shift in a week, staring at the gas pump, wondering if the tank will last until payday. These eyes see walls, but some women, with the invisible mark awakened, gaze at the same wall and see a hidden door. Testimony. In California, a nurse drowning in medical debt placed a dollar bill against her mirror every morning. She looked at herself through it, repeating quietly, "My eyes carry doors, not walls." One evening, after months of rejection, a call came. A loan forgiveness program she thought impossible had accepted her application. "I felt it in my gaze," she said. "I knew the answer was waiting. I just needed to see it first." Florence Scovel Shinn taught that whatever man sees clearly in his mind, he will manifest. Neville insisted, "Assume you already are what you desire, and the world must conform." When your gaze shifts, the world cannot resist. Eyes are not just organs, they are declarations. The mirror ritual is not about reflection, but projection. What you project into the glass rewrites what comes back to you. Practice this tonight. Stand before your mirror. Place a coin or a dollar against it. Breathe deeply 3 times. Then look into your own eyes and declare, "Wealth flows. Dollars come. Abundance is mine." See the reflection not as who you are in lack, but who you are in prosperity. Do this for 7 days, and watch how the gaze you carry into the world will open paths others call impossible. And when resistance whispers, "It's only a mirror, only paper," remember, the mirror shows the invisible truth first, the visible world catches up after. The dollar is not payment, it is a witness. Your gaze is the decree. This is the fourth invisible mark, the gaze that carries answers where others see only endings. And once the eyes awaken, scarcity begins to blink. We are not finished yet. Comment, "I see doors" below, and let us walk forward together. For the fifth invisible mark is not in the gaze, but in the very presence that opens paths. There are moments when a woman enters a room, and without speaking, the entire atmosphere shifts. Bills may be piled high on her kitchen table, rent notices taped to her door, debt collectors calling every evening. But when she walks in, doors seem to unlock that others did not even notice. This is not charisma. It is not luck. It is the fifth invisible mark, the presence that opens paths. Think of the subway crowded at dawn, people weary from 2 or 3 jobs, shoulders heavy, eyes empty. Among them, one woman steps in. She is carrying the same burdens: credit card debt, overdue medical bills, a fridge with more air than food. Yet, somehow, her presence creates space. Someone offers her a seat. Another smiles without knowing why. Even the train, delayed for minutes, suddenly moves as she arrives. This is the mystery of presence. It bends situations without words. Testimony. A teacher in Chicago, facing repossession of her car, practiced a simple ritual. Each morning, before leaving her apartment, she placed a coin in her shoe and whispered, "Where I walk, doors open." That week, while riding the bus, she overheard a conversation about a part-time evening program. She applied. Within weeks, it doubled her income. "I felt like the path was waiting for me, but I had to step into it with presence," she said. Florence Scovel Shinn declared, "The invisible forces are ever working for man who is always pulling the right strings." Neville taught that when you walk in the assumption of being already blessed, every step orders itself. The coin and shoe ritual is not about money itself. It is about presence, a reminder that each step carries the authority of unseen wealth. Here is the practice. Tonight, choose a coin, even the smallest one. Place it inside your shoe. Tomorrow, walk into your day with it hidden under your soul. Each step silently decree. Wealth flows. Dollars come. Abundance is mine. Do not rush. Walk as if unseen doors swing open with every movement. At the end of the day, remove the coin, place it on a table, and thank it. Repeat for 7 days. Presence grows by practice. Resistance will whisper, "It is just a coin, just a walk." But presence is never just. Presence is the field that bends rooms, changes conversations, alters outcomes. The coin is not the power. It is the witness that reminds you who you are when you forget. This is the fifth invisible mark, the presence that opens paths where logic swears no road exists. And once presence awakens, opportunities appear like hidden corridors waiting for your footsteps. Stay with me. Comment, "I walk open below," to seal this mark into your life. For the sixth invisible mark is even more daring, the resilience that breaks debt itself. Picture a heavy iron chain stretched across your chest. Every overdue bill adds another link. The landlord's notice becomes one link, the overdraft fee another, the prescription you cannot afford another. Soon, the weight presses so deep you feel as if you cannot breathe. Yet some women carrying these same chains break them, not with force, but with resilience that bends debt until it snaps. This is the sixth invisible mark, the resilience that breaks debt. Debt feels like quicksand. The harder you struggle, the deeper you sink. You take a second job, then a third, only to realize the paycheck dissolves before the week is done. Your shoulders ache, your back stiffens, your spirit whispers that maybe this is the end. But resilience is not endurance. Resilience is rebirth. Where others collapse under the chain, resilient women rise, not once but again and again, until the links rust and fall away. Testimony. A grandmother in New York City, carrying thousands in hospital debt after her husband's surgery, practiced a ritual with a simple candle. Every night, she placed a coin beside the flame and whispered, "Debt breaks, abundance remains." Weeks later, a relative she had not spoken to in years offered to pay part of the hospital bill. Then, unexpectedly, the hospital reduced the remainder under a hardship program. She said, "The chains did not vanish all at once. They cracked link by link. My resilience called it forth." Florence Scovel Shinn wrote, "Fear and impatience cause delays." Neville Goddard said, "Persistence will bring about results, no matter how impossible they may seem." The candle ritual is persistence turned visible. Each flame is a reminder. Debt is not eternal. Chains break, not by chance, but by spiritual law. Here is your practice. Tonight, light a small candle. Place a coin beside it. Whisper 3 times. Debt breaks. Abundance remains. Watch the flame and imagine each debt like an iron chain glowing red until it snaps. When the candle burns out, place the coin under your pillow. Sleep as if the debt is already dismantled. Repeat for 7 nights. Resistance will argue. Your balance sheet is reality, not ritual. But remember, reality shifts when spirit insists. Resilience is the refusal to collapse under numbers. Each ritual, each whisper, is a hammer strike against chains. This is the 6th invisible mark. Resilience that breaks debt, the hidden strength that bends numbers until they dissolve. And when resilience awakens, creditors lose their power, and money bends back towards you. Stay with me. Comment, "Debt breaks" now below to declare this mark into your life. For the 7th invisible mark is even more mysterious. The intuition that avoids traps before they close. Think of a trap hidden under leaves. On the surface, the ground looks safe, but one wrong step and the snare closes tight. Financial life is full of such traps. Predatory loans promising relief but demanding your soul, credit cards that whisper freedom but charge interest like fire, contracts with tiny letters that bind you for years, payday loans that feel like lifelines but cut deeper each time. Many fall, but some women step forward and somehow turn aside just before the jaws snap. This is not luck. It is the 7th invisible mark, the intuition that avoids traps. How many times have you signed your name with a trembling hand, only to realize months later that you signed into chains? How many times have you bought because fear shouted, "You need it now," only to regret when bills devoured your paycheck? Intuition is not logic. Intuition is the whisper that says, "Wait." It is the pause that saves you from losing more than money. It saves you from losing your future. Testimony. A woman in Arizona, weeks behind on rent, was offered a payday loan at the corner store. She nearly signed, but something, an inner pull, stopped her hand. Instead, she went home, lit incense, and held a coin over the smoke. She whispered, "Guide my step, guard my path." The next morning, her cousin, unaware of her struggle, called to repay an old debt. It was just enough to cover rent. "If I had taken that loan," she said, "I would still be paying today." Intuition turned her away from the trap. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Intuition is the spiritual faculty that does not explain, it simply points the way." Neville insisted, "Trust the feeling above the evidence." Intuition is not reasoned, it is revealed. The ritual awakens that compass. The coin in smoke is not superstition. It is alignment. It declares, "I will see the trap before I step." Practice this. Take a coin. Pass it 3 times through incense smoke, or even candle flame if incense is absent. Hold it to your forehead. Whisper, "Guide my step, guard my path." Carry the coin with you when you make financial decisions. Before signing, before buying, press it gently in your palm and wait. If peace fills you, proceed. If heaviness rises, walk away. Resistance will whisper, "You are imagining." Everyone must sign. Everyone must risk. But the awakened know the greatest wealth is not always gained, but what is not lost. To avoid the trap is as powerful as to find gold. This is the 7th invisible mark, the intuition that avoids traps, the hidden radar that turns footsteps away from chains. And when intuition awakens, money no longer bleeds through invisible holes. Stay with me, comment, I trust intuition below to claim this mark. For the eighth invisible mark rises beyond avoidance. It is the detachment that ends illusions. Hold a glittering object in your hand, a gold ring, a shining necklace, even a polished coin. Notice how it catches light, how it seems to promise permanence. Yet if you bury it in soil, it rusts. If you cling to it in fear, it slips away. Illusions are like that. We chase brands, appearances, comparison with neighbors, believing that status equals prosperity. But prosperity is not the illusion of shine. It is the flow of unseen abundance. The eighth invisible mark is detachment that ends illusions. Debt often grows from illusions. Buying clothes to look successful while credit cards scream red. Leasing cars to appear stable while the rent is overdue. Filling carts with groceries to feel abundant while the fridge already hides unpaid notices. Illusions are chains disguised as crowns. But women with this mark release illusions. They refuse to measure their wealth by objects, and because of that refusal, true wealth finds them. Testimony. A woman in Georgia, drowning in debt, owned one luxury bag bought years ago on credit. Every time she saw it, she felt shame. One evening, she performed a ritual. She placed the bag in a box, set a coin on top, and whispered, "I release the illusion, I embrace the real." Days later, she sold it online. With the money, she cleared a utility bill that threatened to cut power. "The moment I let go," she said, "doors opened where I had seen only walls." Florence Scovel Shinn said, "I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give thanks." She knew illusions collapse when gratitude rises. Neville declared, "Detach from what you see and assume what you desire." Detachment is not poverty. Detachment is mastery. To hold without clinging. To own without being owned. Practice this. Tonight, choose one object that carries illusion. It may be jewelry, clothing, or even a receipt that chains you to guilt. Place a coin on it. Whisper 3 times, "I release illusion. I embrace the real." If you feel called, give it away, sell it, or simply remove it from sight for 7 days. Each act of detachment makes space for true prosperity to enter. Resistance will come. If I let go, I lose. But the truth is the opposite. When you release illusion, you clear the channel. Illusions are heavy. They block flow. Detachment is the clearing of the riverbed, so water can rush again. This is the eighth invisible mark, detachment that ends illusions. It frees you from buying shadows, and when illusions die, abundance appears without disguise. Stay with me, comment, "I release illusion" below to affirm this mark. For the ninth invisible mark is waiting in the heart, the compassion that multiplies abundance. Imagine breaking a loaf of bread in half. One piece becomes 2, and when shared, the taste seems richer than if eaten alone. Or think of pouring water from your cup into another's glass. Strangely, your own thirst feels lighter. The world tells you that giving makes you have less. But in the unseen law, compassion multiplies. This is the ninth invisible mark, the compassion that multiplies abundance. Scarcity screams, hold everything, save every coin, trust no one. And fear makes sense when rent is overdue, credit card collectors call at night, and groceries consume the last dollars in your wallet. Yet the paradox remains. Women carrying this invisible mark give when logic says you cannot. They hand bread to a neighbor. They cover a bus fare. They offer encouragement, and doors swing open for them. Testimony. In Detroit, A woman with barely enough for rent saw her neighbor without food. She boiled rice, split it, and carried half across the hall. That same night, her landlord called to say an anonymous donor had covered part of her rent through a local church fund. "I gave a plate," she said, "and received a roof." Compassion did not subtract. It multiplied. Florence Scovel Shinn affirmed, "Man can only receive what he gives." Neville Goddard taught, "Assume the feeling of having enough, and life mirrors it." Compassion is the act of assuming, I have enough to share, even when numbers say otherwise. And the unseen law responds with multiplication. Here is your practice. Take a coin or a dollar bill. Place it beside your meal before you eat. Whisper, I bless what I share. I multiply what remains. Then commit to giving something small, food, kindness, even a word of encouragement to someone in need. Each act of compassion plants a seed in unseen soil, and those seeds return multiplied. Resistance will whisper, if you give, you will starve. But understand, starvation comes not from giving, but from fear. Compassion is not weakness. It is the code of multiplication. A river that blocks itself becomes a swamp. A river that flows becomes life. This is the 9th invisible mark, compassion that multiplies abundance. It transforms scarcity into overflow, not because the numbers change instantly, but because the law of flow awakens through giving. Stay with me, comment, I give flow below to seal this mark. For the 10th invisible mark is the crown of all, the faith that bends time itself. Look at the clock ticking on the wall. Each second feels heavy when bills are overdue, when rent is demanded today though your paycheck comes next week, when the pharmacy says we cannot release the medication until payment clears. Time itself becomes a tyrant. Minutes feel like chains. But some women carry an invisible mark that bends time, that shifts the arrival of money into the exact moment of need. This is the 10th invisible mark, the faith that bends time itself. Think of waiting for a transfer that never comes, refreshing your bank app again and again. Think of staring at the empty fridge, whispering a prayer, and wondering if food will appear before your children cry. Faith is not denial of these moments. Faith is authority within them. Faith says, money is never early, never late. It is always exact. And when faith speaks, time obeys. Testimony. In Philadelphia, a woman facing eviction lit a candle with her last match. She placed her final dollar beneath the flame and whispered, it is finished. It is done. And it cannot be otherwise. Hours later, the sheriff was at her door. Just as she wept, her phone rang. An old client she had forgotten about transferred money instantly. The landlord, about to change the locks, accepted the payment and left. She said, it was the last hour, but faith bent time. Florence Scovel Shinn declared, infinite spirit is never too late. Neville Goddard said, live as though it were already true. Faith is not waiting, it is declaring. When you decree with faith, you move out of the timeline of fear into the rhythm of spirit. Time bends, and provision arrives at the exact second, like rain falling at the edge of drought. Here is your practice. Take a coin or dollar bill. Place it under a candle flame or beside a clock. Whisper with authority, it is finished, it is done, and it cannot be otherwise. Repeat 3 times. Then close your eyes and imagine the bill paid, the account cleared, the fridge filled. See it now, not later. Sleep in that vision as if it were already fact. Resistance will shout, you are too late. Time has already run out. But faith responds, time bows to the invisible. Faith does not measure hours, it bends them. Faith is not a hope, it is law. This is the 10th invisible mark, the faith that bends time itself. When faith awakens, bills lose their power, and money appears not by chance, but by decree. And now we close the circle. Speak with me 3 times. It is finished. It is done. And it cannot be otherwise. For you are not a seeker of prosperity. You are prosperity itself. You are a natural receiver. Money always finds you. Stay with me. Comment, "Time bends now," below, subscribe, and return in 48 hours to share your testimony. For the seal is placed, the marks revealed, and the code awakened. And so it is.